Welcome to the Passion Professors Podcast, hosted by Earth.University, where stories of life experiences and purpose inspire and unite humanity. Here's your host, Lindsay Andreotti.
Hey, welcome everybody. I'm Lindsay Andreotti, the host of Passion Professor Podcast, and I have a most incredible guest today, a friend, a client, a colleague, a most awesome sauce human. His name is Anthony Holloway. Hi, Anthony.
Hi, Lindsay. Hi, Lindsay's community. So happy to be here.
I'm so happy that you're with us. And I just want to give our friends who are listening out there a little bit of background about you, because you are truly one of those amazing people that I got to meet in 2020 and beyond. Just for all of you who are listening, Anthony is a recruiter, he's a coach, and he's an entrepreneur. And he's on a mission, and really, truly on a mission to inspire and transform millions of lives around the world. And he's most passionate about personal development, productivity, and storytelling. And we're going to get to talk about all that today. I'm so excited. A little background on Anthony is that he spent 5 years in retail and investment banking. And then he chose to pivot his career and moved 3,000 miles away from New Jersey to the San Francisco Bay Area, which is brave in and of itself. I don't know very many people who will do that, where he became a career coach at a development booth, DevBootcamp. And since then, he's helped dozens of companies hire the right talent. He's coached 500 engineers to be better at what they do. And he's helped them essentially get jobs and find and design their own careers. And I think that Anthony has just a special way of being magical. And I'm so excited that you're with us today. Thank you.
Wow, that was a phenomenal intro. Thank you, Lindsay.
Isn't it fun to listen about yourself? Woohoo! It's like, oh, I'm so excited. And I feel so grateful because I get to work with people like this. And, you know, Anthony's one of those people who works with a ton of individuals around the world, actually. They're from everywhere. Tell me a little bit about what made you decide to go down the recruitment trail, if you will, after all this other previous experience. Something called to you about this career development thing, and I want to know what you heard.
Yeah. Well, I'm so happy that you asked me that question, because when I meet any other recruiter, that's my same question. How did you get into this? Why are you doing it? And I'll back up for a minute and I'll say it started in Jersey. I attended, Rutgers University, and I got a degree in mathematics because I love writing, I love numbers, and I love psychology and logic. So with that degree, I said, well, I don't want to be a teacher or an actuary. So I did the next best thing, and I worked at a bank.
Yeah, that's true.
And I got some great mentorship, learned a lot about business, hospitality, how to communicate effectively, but that didn't really fill my soul and my cup up.
Nice.
And in 2015, I joined a community called Starting Block. So just imagine you got people like Lindsay, myself, and others in a room for 5 days, and you talked about building socially impactful businesses.
Cool.
That's Starting Block.
Yeah, I want to.
And then afterwards,
yeah,
it was a transformational experience. And then afterwards, you have a community of people that supports you. And because contribution and being of service is one of my core values, in 2016, I went back to that organization to volunteer and mentor and give back to a community that had given back to me. And there I met, still wanted to say, one of my best friends, Michael McNair, but also met Cameron Cloushy. And at the time, she was working at DevBootcamp. And she said, she kind of just recognized a light and potential in me and said, I think you would be great for this job at DevBootcamp. And that started my journey from New Jersey to California.
So cool.
But before I made the leap, I actually interviewed for that job, made it all the way to the final round of the interviews, and got rejected. So I was really, I felt so defeated because I preach about this. I had the strongest of referrals. I had something I was extremely passionate about, and I got rejected. However, again, community, I always want to stay in contact with people. So I contacted all of the interviewers, stayed in contact with them. And long story short, someone ended up leaving the team. And 2 weeks later, they said, would you like the job? So I would say to any job seeker, a rejection is just a no for now, but you can always stay in touch with people.
Boy, that's so true.
And always do that. So
yeah, the no for now. Yeah, the universe does that too. Mm-hmm.
And I did that, and ended up making it to California and getting that job. And then 9 months into that job, the company shut down. So
wow.
I started to actually get good. Yeah, I started to get really good started to get the coaching their first jobs, helping them negotiate for better salaries. And so again, I'm like, wow, I got a job I love that fulfills me. And now I had to redefine myself.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of times when these failures happen, you can go inward and just judge yourself. Right. And that's how you can, slip into depression, have a lot of anxiety, which I did have for a while. And then Tony Robbins has a great quote. He says, ask a better question, get a better answer. So instead of asking myself, and this is what most job seekers do, instead of asking myself, what do I want to do next? I said, how do I want to grow next? Who do I want to be?
Good
Which
question.
is very difficult to answer, but if you focus on that, like it just opens you up to really remarkable results. And then I made a transition to Alco by asking myself that question, where they have a program where they train engineers on how to master the technical interview. Again, did some great work, got a lot of different companies to hire engineers from their program, one of which being Woebot Health. And 9 months later, I ended up leaving that job, joining Woebot Health. And then in the past 2 years, I've helped double our headcount, founded the first diversity, equity, and inclusion squad within our company to prioritize representation within our company and within our product. And just along that journey also met Lindsay. So that brings us present day. And I'm so happy to be here and so grateful that you let me, share my story with your audience.
Oh my gosh, I love your story. And that's a fabulous way. What I love is that your path was so not straight. And what I know about people who are looking for jobs, and especially when they're leaving high school and college, and I'll call them those transition moments in life, they kind of look out and they go, well, I'm supposed to do it right. And there is no recipe for right. What's right is what feels good. And that's what we teach at Earth.University. It's what lights you up, what do you want to follow, and what feels like the right next step. And you just showed someone how you followed that right next step, even through rejection. That's what a great story. So inspiring. So I guess my next question to you is, when you ask that question to yourself, who do I want to be? Do you remember what you said to yourself? Or maybe to change the question just slightly.
Great follow-up.
Yeah, well, I'm also going to say, you can also answer it this way. If you don't remember, because you are that now, like you're being what you saw in yourself, what would you say? Who do you want to be next?
Yeah. So I would say, before I get to the answer, I will acknowledge that it's very scary to ask that question, because even if you do find an answer, then that makes you responsible for pursuing it. And that's scary. I was having that thought over the past week. It's easy to think big, but then it's like, once you start putting in that work and start speaking to your soul and start identifying that, now you're responsible. Now you've done the thinking and now you have to do the work. So I think that's the scariest part. And back then, I think for me, it was around building really 3 skill sets. One is just becoming a better recruiter. And that's really learning to listen really well. That's the best skill you can have as a recruiter, really learning to listen really well and identify people's intrinsic motivators.
Yeah.
The second piece was continuing to improve and be a better coach.
Yeah.
Right. And coach and recruiter, they're similar hats, but they're not the same. And then the last piece, which now I'm coming to realize that it's really my passion for storytelling, but it was marketing. Right. So you can be a great recruiter or you can be a great coach, but how do you write really well? How do you become a great copywriter? How do you market and try to tell a story that convinces them, right? We just talked about how scary taking action is, right? So how do you tell a story that allows people to do that? And yeah, if I would have to say the same thing now, it's still those areas, but now my focus is more on not becoming a better marketer, becoming a better storyteller. I feel like marketing is like a technique, a tactic, right? But storytelling is the essence. Storytelling is the craft.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ooh,
so those are my three.
Oh, I love that too. And I think one of the things that I've really witnessed in you is your own understanding of the difference between the storytelling that shows up on a resume versus the storytelling that shows up for a company. Companies have to tell a story so that people want to come work with them. Companies have to tell a story so that customers want to come and spend money with them. And we all have to tell a story in our resume or in our curriculum vitae that tells somebody why and what we're about. But a business has to do the same thing. And you have played on both sides of that. So what are you noticing is so powerful about storytelling?
Well, I mean, at its core, it's human. Right? Like even if you go back to like us as cave men and cave women, it was once we were able to articulate and create, even before we could use language, it was, maybe painting or art or hieroglyphics. It was, right? So stories have not only help us, pass our lineage, but it was really a survival tool, right? The elders would, tell stories in the village. These are things that, helped us stay alive, help us hunt and gather, help us navigate, whether it be through astronomy or other mediums. So yeah, I think storytelling, like at its essence, is just human. And yeah, that's what I love most about it, because like, even I know it's maybe like a surface level storytelling, but even watching good advertising, like,
yes,
my girlfriend and I, we love that, because like, even if I don't buy the product, like I'll kind of sit back and just say, respect. I see what you were trying to do there.
Yeah.
I know who your ideal customer was. Right. And I really enjoy the stories that people, and I think a few of the best are Disney, obviously.
Oh yeah.
Disney with, the Marvel Universe, DC, but also Nike. Nike does a phenomenal job of storytelling. So yeah, Disney, Nike are like kind of two of my favorites. And then a person that's my favorite is Kobe Bryant. Rest in peace to him, Gianna. But he is a remarkable storyteller. If anybody hasn't, they need to read his book. And it's interesting because in a kid in high school, he talks about how he had a high school teacher that like pushed him and challenged him to write and do stories. And I think one of his first jobs was like writing ads for a newspaper, right? So yeah, I'm obviously, enamored with his story from his performance as a basketball player, an entrepreneur, and a father, but even more so because that's where he started. So it's like that resonates with me, because I know that, like in high school, I took it for granted, but I was always a great writer. I don't know why, but like, I mean, I would, some of my peers, I would write their English papers or their history papers. And it was kind of fun for me to like flip words and like sit back and be like, ooh, like that was a damn good sentence. Like, you know, and it made me feel good. But I never thought, oh, you're a good writer, you should become a recruiter. And to anyone who's out there trying to figure it out, whether you're, you know, 19 in college, out of college, in a boot camp, or you're in your late 50s and make a redesign of your career, I think it's start with taking inventory of those skill sets, and especially the ones that light you on fire. And then you have to proactively test, research, and try things that can be useful to those things. So if you have a skill set, you also have to think, okay, how can I be of service with it? And that's where you bridge the gap between what you're good at, what you like, and what you want to do for a living.
Totally.
So a little bit of a tangent. But that's how I think about it.
Well, I mean, that's really what we're about here at Earth.University. Is this is the School of Applied Purpose. And, you know, one of the things that I know our audience is really, they're digging in and they're wanting to connect to their purpose. And what I've discovered in my own life is that purpose can be rather nebulous. It's never a what. You know, like it's not your purpose to be a, and then fill in the blank, teacher, doctor, you know, whatever. Your purpose tends to be more of that collective of skills that are fun, that you find really good, and you gravitate to them, and then you pull them all together. So I remember when my daughter told me when she was really little that she wanted to grow up and be a singing and dancing veterinarian. And, you know, and I went, whoa, never have seen that before, you know. I mean, but those were her words to describe the things that she's truly passionate about, which are science, music, the arts, that kind of thing. She's got a lot of passion, and she's developed skills in that. So you're pointing to that. I want to kind of switch gears a little bit, move into this zone where I know you've created a course that helps people kind of design their career and figure out what they want to do next. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. In 2019, I launched the Career Mastery course with the help of my partner, Jenna Ritten, who's a developer who works at IBM, someone I coached, a really good friend. And we just, you know, through our own expert, are very scrappy and resourceful individuals. So a lot of what we put into this course and thoughtfully designed is just trial and error. So it's called Career Mastery, and it's 90 minutes of content that can help you get a job in 90 days or less. And the way that we structure it is, I'm going to go with a little alliteration here, is really the 4 W's. So it's why, where, wow, like, wow, that's magnificent, and when, like victory. So the first W is why. So that's really the first module where we talk about mindset, right? And we all talk about like, if you don't necessarily know what you want to do in a career and where you want to go, you're not broken.
Yes.
Right? That's what we start with. And in our naivete, in our first iteration, we just thought, oh, we'll just give people the tools and they can figure it out. It was like, no, let's help people shift their mindset first. So first is getting out your own way in that sense, and just recognizing that you have value, and that now you just need to translate that into, okay, how does that translate to the marketplace? The next W is where, right? So once you define your why, you also have to say, okay, where am I going, right? I need a direction. I need a target. I need an objective. I need a North Star. And that North Star, once you start to define it, even if it's fuzzy, right? I love Jordan Peterson. He says, create a bad draft of your goals. You can do that. You don't have to have a perfect, just create a really bad draft of your goals. I challenge anyone to, like, I wish I had done that 10 years ago. Yeah. Right. And really consistently done that.
No doubt.
So create a really bad draft of your goals and define your North Star. Once you have that you have a filtering system that helps you make decisions? And that's when you get to the next part, which is the wow. And I call it wow because this is where we teach people, okay, how do companies actually fill jobs? And how do you apply to jobs the same way that companies fill them? What I mean by that is 80% of jobs aren't even listed online. Yet 80% of candidates are applying online.
Yeah.
Right? And we talk about this in a webinar that Jenna and I host called Job Search Like a Recruiter. It's everything that we know as career coaches and as a recruiter on terms of how to get the job that you want and deserve. And the last one is when. So once you define your why, you know where you're going, and you also strategically have a roadmap for, okay, how do I actually get into a company and understand what they need, right?
Yeah.
Understand, be of service, understand what a company needs, which most candidates are all about me, I want this. You understand what companies need and how you can be of service. The last part is when, right? So how do you actually get interviews? How do you perform well in interviews? How do you act really thoughtful in interviews such that companies are like, wow, this person thinks strategically and they're not just focused on themselves. They're trying to add value to me. And lastly, how do you negotiate for, bonuses, salary increases, better titles, etc. So that's the 4 W's. That's career mastery. And would love to dive deeper into, the whys behind why we created it, but really passionate about it. And this is our first vehicle to start transforming and inspiring millions of lives around the world.
I love it. And we are so aligned on this notion that everyone can be working in a career that is really aligned to who they are. And the way you've laid this out and your course is just stellar. So, I want to commend you and Jenna for coming up with this as a first step into the how do we transform people into lives they love. I also would just say to all of our listeners, you can actually get Anthony's course in our Hall of Wisdom here at Earth.University. So just go to our website and check out the Hall of Wisdom. His course, Career Mastery, is available there. And also, Anthony, I'm sure, I really do feel this way. I think a lot of people are going to want to get to know you. Is there a way they can follow you, connect with you, hear more about what you're about, your storytelling and your passion for being who they are?
Absolutely. If you contact us, Jenna and I will more likely both respond, but level up at careernebula.io. That's Nebula, Nebula. We want to be a community where stars are born. So we kind of use that word. And that goes back to like my love for space and NASA. And NASA, if you're listening, I'm putting it out in the universe. I don't know what I want to do for you, but I want to be of service. And
dude, you need to come to my neighborhood. I live down the street from NASA and 3 of my neighbors are retirees. We got to talk. Look at this. This is connection. This is how it works.
we got to talk more about that.
We will. So level up
so
at
definitely
nebula.io. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would also say LinkedIn. I'm a recruiter, so I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. So Lindsay can share that in the show notes. My name is Anthony L. Holloway. If you type that in, you'll probably find me first. And I would also say Medium. I founded a blog called Tech Dirty with Me in 2017, and it was really on my beginnings in terms of like, how do I create practical ways to help people flourish at life?
Love it.
Right? Like how do I get down to the nitty gritty? And that was the inspiration that also led to the course. So I would say level up at careernebula.io, Medium blog, Tech Dirty with Me, and then you can always hit me on LinkedIn, of course.
Awesome. And I'm going to have all this information in, like you said, the show notes and the description box below in YouTube, if you're watching it there. Anthony, you're just incredible. And your light and your delight for helping others it's palpable. I so enjoy our conversation. So thank you for helping our listeners.
before I let you go, can I share a little excerpt from a book that I'm reading that I think everybody should read and
I'm
can
in. Bring
transform their lives?
Bring it on,
So
because this is great.
It's called The One Thing: The Surprisingly Simple Truth Behind Extraordinary Results by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan. So I'm halfway done with this book. They also have some courses at, I'm not affiliated with them, so I'm not getting paid for this, but
You're just
if they're
inspired.
listening, I wouldn't turn down a sponsorship deal. But what they say is, and interestingly enough, this chapter is called Live with Purpose. And it's just fitting that I'm talking about passion and purpose with you. And I wanted to make sure I shared it with your listeners before I let you go. And it says that financially wealthy people are those who have enough money coming in without having to work to finance their purpose in life.
Yeah.
And that just hit me right in the chest. Now, again, this is back to the commitment being scary. So it says, now, please realize that this definition presents a challenge to anyone who accepts it. To be financially wealthy, you must have a purpose for your life. In other words, without purpose, you'll never know when you have enough money, and you can never be financially wealthy.
Oh, woo! Heck yeah. Because that's why we're all here, is to live what we're meant to be. And I believe that statement. It's true. And abundance comes from that place of, as you called it, being in service and knowing that your needs are met and beyond. And I often ask the question, how good can this get? I don't know, but I love asking the question because I get to do what I love to do. And I know you're doing what you love to do. And our job is to inspire others to do what you love to do. So, and what you are, really. So, Anthony, you are a love. Thank you so much for being here. You're amazing. And to all of our listeners, we're really glad that you're here today. And we encourage you to like and subscribe and connect with me and Anthony and anybody else at Earth University that just lights your fire. So without further ado, have an amazing day and live your passion.